And of course, if something changes there, it inevitably has knock-on effects with India's other relationships, including the India-Japan relationship. What sort of scenarios do you see for things between New Delhi and Washington affecting the relationship between New Delhi and Tokyo?
Well, the U.S.-India relations has been one of the very important factors of Japan-India relations. To begin with, there are still many constitutional restrictions for Japan to promote cooperation with other countries in the area of security. Japan's self-defense forces cannot do more with other militaries than it can with its ally, the United States. Moreover, it is not easy country to deal with. It is quite tough for Japanese to negotiate with Indians. It is often easier to work with the US, which has already cooperated with India in various field frameworks, to get involved with India rather than separately. So that is why the former Prime Minister Abe emphasized the importance of Quad, not only bilateral security cooperation with India. However, it seems to me that the US and even Australia have been tired of dealing with India because its self-reliance, strong foreign policy. Therefore, Quad is kind of, stagnating, in my view. So we need another strong Japanese leader who can manage the relations with India and revive the Quad. That's what I think.
So if that's the goal, how does Japan get there? What is the key to maintaining and improving relationships with India?
Well, I once contributed as an essay titled 5 Tips on How to Deal with Indian People, to a Japanese think tank. First, India should be treated as major power. Recently, India is, becoming a real major power. And everyone is pampering India. But in the past, Japanese people sometimes looked down on India and hurt the Indian people's pride. So we should be careful. Secondly, do not try to force India to join our side, right? As we already mentioned about the Indian self-reliance, we must respect that. Third, as mentioned earlier, do not depend on the US for the relationship with India. And fourth, strengthen bilateral relations between Japan and India rather than the Quad. And last, the last is that we should not place too much trust or expectation on India, I'm afraid. India has to be controlled. When we push India hard, India resists harder. So we must learn more about the Indian way of thinking if we want to get something from India. That's my idea.
And do you have any specific advice for Japanese people or anyone who wants to understand India better?
Well, of course, first step is visit to India. I lived there for 5 years and had many discussions with my Indian friends. Yet I'm often surprised by their thinking process. In order to share such experiences, I am currently teaching a course called Introduction to India for first-year university students at the Nagasaki University. This year, I'm planning to open a course called Introduction to Fieldwork in India and conduct a training program in India. I really hope that Japanese people will be exposed to the Indian way of thinking from the young age, which will further strengthen India-Japan relations in the future.
And Professor Hirose, you've spent your career both as a journalist and in academia studying India. What is the secret to coming to grips with such a diverse country?
Yes, I'd like to focus on the Buddhist connection that goes back through the ages. It was an Indian priest who performed the eye-opening ceremony at the Todaishi Temple in Nara, and the Prime Minister Modi visited the Buddhist temple in Kyoto during his first visit to Japan. This kind of deep spiritual bond is not easy to build with other countries. And recently, Japanese animation has been very popular in India, and the Indian movie RRR was a big hit in Japan. What I would like to focus on here is not simply the acceptance of the foreign culture, but the fact that both people share a unique worldview that is not found in the monotheistic countries. This can be glimpsed in their movies and anime productions. I think a deep cultural connection is important.
I think anyone who wants to understand what great things the Japan-India relationship can produce should watch the animated Ramayana movie made by Japan and India as a co-production in the early 90s. It's beautiful. Now we're running out of time, so I want to give both of you a chance to give us some final insights and wisdom, maybe take us forward looking at the future of the relationship. Professor Kiyota, can we start with you?
As we have discussed, the relationship between India and Japan has changed dramatically over the past 2 decades. I'd like to emphasize again that Japan must strengthen its relationship with India further because India's importance in the world will only increase in the next 2 decades. So in this context, I'd like to thank again for giving us such a wonderful opportunity to discuss India. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And Professor Hirose?
Yes, in these uncertain, unstable, and unpredictable terms, I once again felt that the relationship between India and Japan is not just a bilateral relationship, but an important one that will determine the direction of the world. I think it was a very good meaningful talk today. Thanks to Dr. Kiyota and Donna-san.
And thank you, and thanks everyone for watching. On behalf of my co-host, Professor Hirose Hiromi from Kindai University, and our special guest, Dr. Kiyota Tomoko from Nagasaki University, I want to thank you for your time. I hope you learned something, and we will see you next time.